And yet again, there's only 7 sites at this RV park. Everybody's empty, except for the one next to us. They must think we're stalking them or something. Everything else is empty here. We're not stalking you. Just good company. Okay, welcome to this week's episode of Luv Subbin. And where does it find us this week?
We are in Sandwich, New Hampshire at the Sandwich, New Hampshire Fairgrounds.
We're doing a boondocking wagon wheel rally.
And we're going to talk about why this is very interesting. And what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, we've got a couple of different things. First of all, I'm still learning things on my whole lithium battery charging stuff that we talked about in a previous video. You can check out here when we had problems with. I was thinking the alternator or battery or whatever was messing up with the lithium.
And that caused us to have a big mistake when boondocking, correct?
Yes, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. What else?
We are also going to talk about the one big miss that we missed on our video about all the repairs and replacements that we had done.
Yeah, I mean, we went through last week's video and hopefully you watched out of all the different fixes we've done over 22 years. And the biggest fix of all that required us to take it all the way to Jackson Center.
We completely missed that one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that too.
The only excuse we can have is that we didn't actually do the fix that time.
That's clearly why it happened.
And you'll find out why.
So let's go ahead and we'll talk a little boondocking.
Yep.
A little bit of stuff we've learned.
Yep.
And we'll get right into this week's episode.
As you can see, there's a line laid down so that they can follow it and warm up the wheel.
So the practice of this wagon wheel formation began before the Airstream Club was actually even created. And it was first supposed that it was created by Wally Byam during the Mexican...
And who's Wally Byam?
Wally Byam is the founder of the Airstream Club. It used to be called, or still is called, the Wally Byam Caravan Club International, WBCCI. And this practice began with Wally Byam during a caravan that he did in 1951, supposedly, to the Mexican Central America region. They thought the best practice was to arrange all these trailers in a circular formation so that there were no inconvenient spaces for any of the people here, and also that the meetings could be held in the center to plan the next day's trip.
Yeah, a lot of people at this rally have commented how cool it is to be in the wagon wheel because you have our tent in the center where we get together, and nobody's got has to walk a great distance. Everyone's got the exact same distance to get to.
And so the second time that this was done, and this was done with 500 trailers, they were crediting a gentleman called Louis Mosley. He's one of the earlier people in the Airstream Club, and this was in 1955, again before the club was created. And he was actually perfected the wagon wheel formation, and there's a picture of this, with all these trailers in concentric circles. Is that the correct term?
Yeah.
Spreading out for 500 trailers. Since then, the practice has continued, and it's a very popular way to arrange your Airstreams. And some of this information I got, if you have the old issue of the Blue Beret from May of this year, in the President's Corner, they talk about all of this history. So it's very interesting.
So there's actually a science behind getting such a wagon wheel together, and I talked to the gentleman who actually did it for our rally here. And the way it starts is you start with an inner circumference of 314 feet, and that number may sound familiar. 314 is 3.1415927, and I asked them why it wasn't 314.15927 feet, but they rounded up there. But anyway, so they use that as a circumference and then divide it by the number of rigs. We've got 15 here. And then that's the spacing. He had a cord from the center that they would lay out, and then at that distances they would put a dot, a spray painted dot, and then you would go ahead and splay the rigs out in that particular fashion.
So they do try to leave a larger opening at one end so that people can get in and out.
Yes, and that's always a good thing. So, yeah, this is actually our first wagon wheel, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's been a historical way to arrange Airstreams, and it's been very popular.
And probably ever since like the 1800s when they would arrange covered wagons in this particular fashion.
And probably for the same reason, because it was convenient, and in that case it was probably more for protection.
I was just gonna say they probably were a little bit worried about being attacked than we are here.
Yeah.
Although you never know with the Jaco Club or the Winnebago Club or
Well,
the
you
Tiffin,
never know with these
Tiffin people, you never know. They could be out there to get us. You never know. So this gives us some security.
Yes.
So this is the center point at which we put like a little stake and put the cord out that would go out to each of the different spots to make parking the Airstream easier. And yeah, we didn't catch it on film, but if you tried to tell someone, all right, go ahead and pull in and run over this dot, it would be practically impossible.
Yep.
But yeah,
It happened.
we directed someone to run right over the dot with the stake on it and everything, but the tires are okay.
Yep, that's good. It happens.
It happens. So, Sim, what do we have going on here right now?
I think we have a conflagration, literally, of solo stoves.
We were talking about ambiance,
Yes.
and these are the Solo Stove Mesa XLs that we got going here.
Yep. And we've got 3 different colors going.
I think they all have the Airstream logo too.
Yep. Very appropriate. And don't forget the safety equipment, just in case.
Ah, yes.
No, smoked salmon.
What?
You by Element.
Ah, brought by Element. These things are awesome. If you have not used these things, apparently they are pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was saying I'm waiting for I want them to set fire to something. I want to see it.
Notice the difference now in the flames. Oh yeah.
No, that one's out of wood.
Yep. That needs to be fed.
So it appears that the pellets are the way to go, kind of, sort
Well,
of.
you don't have to add
This
anything.
is actually getting.
You have to add more to that one.
Okay, Editing Rich here, and if you watched our video last week, we listed all the items that have broken in our Airstream over the last 22 years. But we forgot, like, the most major item that broke on our Airstream.
Yeah, this happened back in 2015,
Yes.
and it was a big surprise for us.
Yes, so our frame cracked, and you can see that picture here. Where it cracked on the curbside, right in front of the front wheels. And apparently this is an issue that happened to almost all of the 22-foot Airstreams from that model range.
And we even had 3 members in our own unit who had the same model and have that happen to them as well.
All 3 of them had frames cracked. In fact, once we brought it to Jackson Center, I had heard that there was, at the time, one individual whose sole job was just fixing Airstreams 22-footers with the cracked frame. So we weren't alone in that.
So we brought it into Jackson Center for the winter, and we left it there
Yes.
because it is a big job to fix this.
Yeah, they have to take the axles off, the tanks off, and they do a lot of reinforcing of the frame. But, you know, it's the right place to do such a big job, and that's kind of why we forgot about it, because it was too big for us to do.
Correct. And we were beyond the warranty period for about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, we were way beyond it, but Airstream absolutely treated us right. Yeah, we won't say what it cost, but let's just say Airstream, we left there extremely happy with the craftsmanship, with what they did. And so, you know, hey, that's sometimes it's not if you have a problem, but it's how you react after you have the problem. And we were really happy. So yeah, so we did that. On the way home, by the way, we got whacked with like this huge snowstorm that we weren't expecting, and you can see from these pictures here, it was not
It was not a happy tow. We would not do that again.
That was a bad tow. But yeah, okay, let's get back to our wagon wheel. So good morning. I'm here topping off with some fresh water at one of the hookup sites, and you know, we've said it before, but you know, one of the things when you're searching for a campground and you're having trouble finding one, especially like on a weekend or a holiday weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend in the Lakes region of New Hampshire, one of the most popular vacation destinations in the Northeast. And here at this fairgrounds, you can see they've got a whole bunch of hookups, and there's no one here. I mean, we're boondocking with our rally, but we could easily have had hookups. And you know, we check out Campendium. They'll show all the fairgrounds, and you can check those out as an option when you're just looking for a place to stay and you can't find anything on a weekend or a holiday. Fairgrounds could be your choice. We're here at our wagon wheel, trying to say that quickly, rally, and this here just demonstrates why I love my portable solar suitcase versus just this fixed roof mounted ones. You can see here we're pulling about 6.8 amps. Right, the sun angle is a little bit off this way. And all it takes is just a little bit of a twist. And now we're pulling 7.6 amps.
Wow, that's a big
Just
difference.
that little shift is about 10% or more of solar just with that little shift. You can't do that if it's up on your roof.
That is true.
So it is exactly 11:32 in the morning. We have just topped off our charge. It's saying full, so there's no more going into the battery. So we started the morning at about 70% or so battery, because we had spent the evening playing cards and stuff like that. So we used about 20.25 amps over the course of the evening and night. So if you think about it, 11:30, we had to put in about 20.25 amps or so, averaging 5-6 amps. So that math just about works out right. We're completely full. Time to pack her up. So yeah, I mean, on our battery, by 11:30, we're good to go. Granted, it's a sunny day.
It is a very sunny day.
That's how we roll. All right, we're about ready to tow off from our wagon wheel rally. And I think we're still learning about this whole lithium battery, DC to DC,
Yeah.
charging, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't checked out one of our previous videos, in this video here, we got stuck in a rest area on I-90. And it was really the first time we've towed our lithium batteries for
A long distance.
in a hot weather.
Yes.
And we were dead in the water for like an hour until somebody came by and jumped us.
Correct.
But so we had a hypothesis that either the battery was dead or that the truck was having difficulty charging the lithium battery, and that was draining the onboard truck battery. We weren't sure which was which. And when we came back to this campground, I went, as I always do when boondocking, the first thing you do is you check your Victron to make sure you don't have any lights on accidentally
Or weird power surges or something.
right, because once we had our inverter accidentally on, so that's the first thing you do. And I looked at it, I'm like, holy crap, we're at 70% when we should have left the house at basically 100%. So that whole theory about the truck, remember we had pulled the fuse for the charging, so the truck couldn't charge the battery. You can check out that video up here, which is also at Sampson State Military Park, which is an awesome video.
It is.
But what I didn't realize was when the truck is not charging the rig, therefore I believe the battery is being used to do all the other stuff, especially the brakes. So every time we hit the brakes, those magnetic brakes, it wasn't using the truck, it was using the
battery.
the Airstream's battery. I was kind of thinking that when the battery went, the truck would send a charge to the battery even with the charge disconnected, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to completely disconnect any charging, and you're using all your house batteries whenever you're doing that.
That's the hypothesis anyway,
right.
right?
So what's our null hypothesis going to be?
Our null hypothesis is going to be there's no difference between putting that fuse back in and leaving it out as far as the battery gets drained.
Right, and we're going to test that by looking at what we are right now. So we're at 99% and we've only consumed 0.7 amps before we tow off. Now if we get up to Echo Lake, which is an hour or so away,
And we have
it should be pretty dang close to 98, 99.
There should not be a significant difference.
Right, so really our null hypothesis is that there is almost no difference in amperage usage between towing off and landing if it's not having a problem. So
Yep. Everything's turned off inside, so there should be no pull.
just the little fan cooling the fridge, that's
Yep.
it. So you can see what the Victron looks like over here, and we'll go ahead and do a similar picture when we get up to Echo Lake. And so we'll go ahead and check out those results before we
in the video.
So stay tuned for those results.
Should be interesting.
All right, so we've arrived at our next destination and we're looking at our Victron here, and it looks like we used 1.5 amps, but we're only pulling 0.23 amps static.
Okay.
And we took about just over an hour-ish or so. So we should have only used about 0.25 amps or so. So I'm beginning to think that, yeah, that's probably
That's what
the
happens.
case.
Yeah.
It's using too much stuff.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and do another experiment. Make sure you tune in next week
Correct.
when we plug the fuse back in and see how that works.
Yes. So we'll see if that makes a difference or not.
So like this video,
Give us a big thumbs up
and if you think we've earned a subscription, click the subscribe.
and comment below if you've been to Sandwich, New Hampshire, and how you liked it.
And if you have been to Sandwich, New Hampshire, you're one in a million. It's not a very big place.
Correct.
Because we come out with RV and Airstream related videos just like this one every Tuesday.
Thanks for watching.